guilty dog always barks.
We'll go ahead and begin. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming out today for the 15th meeting of the Board of Directors on this Tuesday, August 3rd. Our invocation will be led by Pastor Craig Connor, and our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by City Director Aaron Holliday, District 1. Please rise.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I do thank you for setting up order and structure, and thank you for these people, these men, these women who lead our city. And Lord, I pray that you'd give wisdom. I pray that you'd give discernment. And Lord, through all of this, I pray that you would work your will, and that people would be able to see you and glorify you. So once again, Lord, I just pray for wisdom and leading as we discuss problems, as things are brought up. In the problem solving, please give wisdom. We love you and thank you, and it's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call this meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Director Aaron Holliday. Here. Director Elaine Jones.
Here.
Director Marcia Dobbs-Smith.
Here.
Director Carol Weatherford.
Here.
Director Karen Garcia.
Here.
Director Steve Trusty.
Here.
Mayor Pat McCabe.
Here. This time we'll consider approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda or items to be moved from the consent agenda to new business? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Director Trusty.
Second.
Seconded by Director Weatherford. All in favor of the agenda as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda is approved. Consider approval of minutes of the July 20th, 2021 meeting. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes as presented? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Director Dobbs-Smith and Director Jones, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Recognition of guests. We have a couple guests here this evening. They'll make presentations. The first will be Mr. Gary Troutman, President and CEO of Hot Springs Chamber of Commerce and Metro Partnership. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate the time and board. And thank you for acknowledging that Gary T goes before Gary W. Appreciate that. We're in one of those odd situations where just reported 3 weeks ago at agenda meeting is the way the calendar fell. So some of these things are probably fresh on your mind, but I'll give you a recap of the past 3 weeks. On the project side, we've had 3 project meetings and 2 company meetings since I reported to you on July the 13th. You'll recall 2 weeks ago, Chuck Lonius was here, and I think he's been at a series of different community meetings lately to promote that Ritter is in fact doing even more in Resort TV Cable is doing even more in broadband than originally thought, and through a Rural Connect grant and association with Chuck and Mr. Hussman contributing as well. Some build out in Piercy Royal, and understand the Diamond Head project is already complete. So more good news on the broadband front. ACTI, we continue to have interest, community, and as well, we are still in a process. I'd hope to have some news for you tonight. I've been in touch with Senator Sample about several other issues, but we're still waiting on the word on the Phase 2 environmental and the declaratory judgment, but we will obviously stay on top of that. Under workforce, Michelle Cole and I met with Gretchen Hunt from Arkansas Rehabilitative Services and Cora Easterday from West Central Planning District to discuss ways we can work better together, and some training programs that West Central has for 16 to 24-year-olds that are not in school, as far as vocational programs, and 24 and above that has employer assistance as far as pay, which is very attractive to the employer. They have a program, I'm sure the limit, which I'm not aware of, but they will pay all up to less than $1. For the employer only has to incur a cost of $1 per hour for the employee. So needless to say, that's one that our employers will be very excited about. I believe that has a 6-month cap on it, but that's a lot of savings for an employer to bring on a new person and get them trained for 6 months, get them acclimated. We've had a couple meetings. Our workforce meeting with Bill Allison has led that again. He's doing a fantastic job, as Director Trusty can probably attest. Initiatives that he's especially working on are welding, truck driving, marine tech, and industrial tech. We've decided to add students to our workforce committee meeting to get their perspective on that. And not in my report because it actually fell in August, but Rick Neal, who I keep telling you about as far as Workforce Guru, has actually spent the day this afternoon at National Park College touring and working with Bill. So have more results for you on that next month when I report. I would encourage you all, if you have just a few minutes, I spent an hour last Monday, but I'd ask you to just spend a little time on readyforlife.com and explore that site and see what you think about it. It's the one I've been telling you the governor spent a lot of effort and money to promote statewide, and it's becoming more and more robust with videos and company-loaded information on there. As far as the just general, probably the best news I've got for you tonight, I think I delivered to you at the very end of the agenda meeting. We got the call from Congressman Westerman that the MSA realignment is done and over. We don't have to worry about that for at least 10 more years to another census. So fantastic news. Again, want to give an acknowledgement to my counterpart in Jonesboro, Mark Young, who called that to everyone's attention and to the city, the county, the planning, West Central, and the Chamber and Partnership for all working together, as happened at 143 other MSAs across the country. Ashley Thompson and Mara Kuhn are with me tonight. You'll recall, you all know Mara. Ashley's our new vice president at the Chamber, and she and I attended the National Chamber Conference, which was to occur in Boston, but wound up occurring via Zoom because of recent numbers. I think we can all understand that. Attended the Hot Springs Village POA board meeting, and I'm proud to tell you the second one in a row that went pretty smoothly. Things have kind of been evening out there with the new board. It seems to residents and landowners seem to be pretty pleased with the new board. So exciting for that to occur. We continue to work with Malvern and the Village on regional economic development. Met with Arkadelphia Chamber this morning. They still do not have a person in their EDO position and are looking there. We met with Keith Smith company was one of the companies I mentioned we'd met with this month. City Manager Burrow and Judge Mahoney, Steve Arison, and Brian Hill and Tim Wilson and I got to tour the Majestic Fields on the 23rd. I'm sure most of you have either been there or driven by. It's just phenomenal. I think I saw today in the paper that August 28th is the big unveiling. And Senator Sample and Les Warren, Michelle and I toured at Cobalt Aero Services, and we're working with Tony McKinley there on some help at the state level. I want to tell you tomorrow we're headed to Benton to tour the new Saline County Career and Technical Center, and taking a trip with Glenn Barentine, the airport director, on Southern Airways with Shannon so we can better promote the trips to Memphis. The 4 new trips that just started on June 1st there. And I will close with this. We have our, which was originally supposed to occur in April, our Metro Partnership Awards and Banquet is next Tuesday at the Doubletree. I'd like to invite you all and hope you will come. We had our first Rotary meeting up there last Wednesday. Fantastic venue. I think a few folks on the board can attest, and want to congratulate the city. City is a nominee for the Historic Preservation Award for right across the street, the 324 Malvern renovation and restoration, and to our city manager, Bill Burrow, and our esteemed mayor, Pat McCabe, for economic development leadership. So hope you all attend next Tuesday, and we'll look for you then. And happy to try to answer any questions if I may.
Any questions of Mr. Troutman? Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
That.
Appreciate the time.
Our next guest will be Mr. Gary Welch and Mr. Tom Moore of Jordan, Woolsey, Cronin, Keaton, and they'll be presenting the 2020 Annual Comprehensive Financial Audit. And walking in with Gary, he said it'd be about a 2-hour presentation.
I'm going to try to cut that down a little bit. Good evening, board members, city managers, city mayor, and officials. Tonight, my name is Gary Welch. With me tonight, as stated, is Tom Moore. We are CPAs with the city audit firm of JWCK LTD. We have office here in Hot Springs and Hot Springs Village. Tonight, I want to accomplish an overview of this report. This is your annual comprehensive financial report. It is 190 pages long. That is lengthy, of course, and it is the most complete summary and disclosures of the operations of the city of Hot Springs for the year ended December 31, 2020. There's 4 basic sections, and I'll go over this area briefly. Introductory section, and within that is it was up there earlier. It was the GFOA, Government Financial Officers Association, has rewarded the city 27 years in a row for financial reporting excellence, and that is quite commendable. I think I assisted in the first one, and Doretha carried on. The largest section is next, the financial section. That's most of the report, and that includes a good annual summary called the MD&A, Management Discussion and Analysis. This will give you a summary of what happened during the 2020 year and some of the ongoing projects that are coming up. Our most important section is also in here, and that is our opinion letter. Back up. I'm not started yet. This is introductory. Our opinion letter, and I'll go over the results of that. The third section is the statistical section, and this gives a multi-year, sometimes 10-year review of some of the activities and trends, revenue, debt, and demographics. The last section is what we call the single audit section, and that is a compliance and control audit of the money you receive from federal and state government. Now, this particular year, you received and expended somewhere in the area of a little over $9 million. And this was an increase over prior years, but that covered the airport, the 7 North project, the transit system, and then some coronavirus relief funds. In our audit opinion letters in this area, we did not find any issues of non-compliance or internal control weaknesses. Going to the monitor, this first slide simply states that you are to receive an annual review of the city's operations. This is a state law covering all cities of the first class, and this gives an overview of our audit and any questions and recommendations that we might have for you. Next, I reviewed the, let me get my sheet out. There are 4 independent audit reports, as I mentioned, and the first one stating that the financial report and financial statements within this report are fairly stated in all material respects, and that the last 3 reports deal in compliance, as I stated. And all this is presented under generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP in the accounting vernacular. And so that says that everything is, there are some adjustments obviously at year end for activity that occurs after year end that may not be known at the exact December 31 date. But after adjustments are made, everything is fairly stated. Next, I want to review the results of the year, which to me was surprising because, as you know, everybody in the business environment and in the government environment had a very strange year in regards to the pandemic and the coronavirus. So a lot of unknowns happened. In your case, you did receive some federal subsidy, specifically on police salaries, etc. But if you look at this schedule, you can see the surprising result was that revenue increased to $8.6 million. These are all citywide numbers. That means all the general fund, the police, fire, street, in the general governmental category, and all the enterprise funds, which is water, wastewater, sanitation, airport, and some smaller funds. So the revenue increased. As I stated, you did get some quite a bit of federal revenue flowing in. And if you look at the bottom of this schedule, you see that the assets and the liabilities increased very substantially. Now, if you recall, in 2020, you had some sizable bond issues. That will increase your liabilities, of course, and the cash and construction related to those bond issues are what increased the assets. But overall, the net equity position of the city increased $7.251 million. Next, we have we looked at the governmental balances. That increased $529,000. And the business type, as I said, this is the water, wastewater, sanitation, and airport are your four biggest enterprise funds. They're called three different things, actually: business type, enterprise, proprietary, but they're user fee driven funds. And stated at the bottom, the 2020 water and wastewater bond issues increased the assets and the liabilities. But you also had operating results, which are primarily what increased the 6.721 revenue change. This is the enterprise one. 6.721 net change in net position or equity. Now, next we have change in capital assets, and this is your fixed assets. If you look at the bottom there, you have $281 million worth of capital or fixed assets, and that increased $11 million. If you look within the notes, you will see that there are probably 40 to 50 projects ongoing, and the total expended on those projects to date is around $25 million. That's both in governmental projects and enterprise projects. Next, you see the change in bonded debt. The net change is $125 million. That was from the water revenue of $100 million and the wastewater of 56. Now, all of the wastewater did not go to new debt. Some of it refunded some of the older debt. That's a very common occurrence, especially when you can get a rate reduction. Next, we look annually at the general fund coverage of expense. And this is by resolution that you must cover 16.5% of operations with your general fund reserve. And in this particular year, your general fund reserve increased from $8.2 million by $4 million to $12.3. What's required under the 16.5% requirement is 3.9. So you had a good result of excess coverage of 8.3. And most of that revenue changes from taxes, fee, gaming, and transfers. The next slide is your proprietary fund change in net position. And overall, the proprietary funds, as you see listed there, had an increase of $6.165 million increase, primarily from water, and that's been in there a couple of years. And as you know, the rates are generally required or driven by bond coverage and operations. Next, we have the liabilities related to pension. And as I've stated in the past, this is the pension requirement for all existing employees and all retired employees, former employees, and it's a measurement of liabilities to the end of every one of those employees' former and present retirement term. These, as I've always stated, these liabilities are not in the direct control of the local cities. These are statewide numbers and actuarial computations done annually. What you can hope for here, and I think I saw an article, is that they are experiencing a little better investment return. So you may see some improvement there. The last slide is a summary of what I've covered, that you got an unmodified audit opinion, sometimes called a clean opinion. The capital assets increased, overall debt increased, general fund balance meets the legal retention requirements, and those enterprise funds all had increases in net position. And the audit of the city and federal and state programs resulted in unmodified opinions, and there were no significant deficiencies or non-compliance. Now that's a quick overview.
Any questions of
Is
Mr. Welch?
there any questions? But I have one more thing.
You tricked us.
You were doing so well.
Well, it's a quick thing. Seeing no questions, our final area in our industry of accounting and auditing requires us to discuss aspects of the audit with the board, and these are strange things. For example, did we have any disagreements with management? No, we did not. Were there any significant audit difficulties encountered? Nothing out of the ordinary. Did we review the accounting estimates? And every entity has accounting estimates. For example, collectability of receivables, depreciations of fixed assets and capital assets, pension liabilities. To me, that's an estimate. We review those with management, see that they are within very proper confines and they are computed legitimately. So that passed. Did we have to correct any account balances? As I said earlier, there are always adjustments, and we don't make adjustments for you or any other client without, our industry doesn't let us make adjustments without getting a signature on the adjustment sheet from the client. So that means everybody's in agreement. But there were some adjustments in revenue and some liabilities, but they were normal. Are there any questions now?
Yeah, from historical trends on the calculation for non-collectible accounts, did you see an increase in 2020 as a result of COVID?
I didn't see an increase in uncollectibles because of one reason. There were quite a bit of, as you call them, write-downs or write-offs, adjustments to accounts based on Doretha's judgment. And
So they were done more in the normal
So,
course
and
of
then that
business.
left a normal allowance at the end of the year. Was that a good description, Tom?
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions of Mr. Welch? Director Garcia?
Did all of the pension liabilities come from the state?
Yes, they do.
And so we don't have to do any
You have
estimates
the
there. We get
old
that.
fire, you have about 4 pensions. You have the old fire and police, you have the new LOPFI, that's also fire and police. You have the APERS, which is your general employees. Then you have the county judge, and so that makes 4 right there. But they all come from the state level. And that's not the best situation for local control.
No, that's out of our control, so when they change their estimates, we just have to,
And,
Adjust
yeah,
accordingly.
you'll get a report that covers just about every city, small, large, every county, and everybody on their system. It's a multi-employer, it's called a multi-employer combined pension plan.
thank you.
Director Trustee?
Gary, on one of those things you mentioned in the letter there that you're required to discuss to the board, you talked about estimates. Do all those estimates appear reasonable in your opinion as
Yes,
an
yes,
auditor?
well, we come to that conclusion, yes.
Okay, all right. There weren't any major adjustments to get to that reasonable?
No.
estimate?
Those weren't as I said, adjustments are caused by facts that come known after the December 31 exact date.
Right. Thank you.
And I'd like to thank Doretha and her crew for their report. By the way, this is your report. We don't create this report. This is your report. My responsibility is to issue those letters and give opinions and perform the audit.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. That concludes our guest recognition, and now we'll hear from the city manager for the city manager's report. Mr. Burrow.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Would like to announce tonight that I've decided to elevate and promote Denny McFate to the open deputy city manager position. That will take effect on August the 7th. Denny has been with the city for many years. August 2004, he joined the city, and he served as our public works director for the last 13 years. Denny holds a Bachelor of Science Construction Engineering degree and is a certified floodplain manager. He has knowledge of many of the projects we have currently underway and involved in those, as well as a very good working relationship with our executive team. He will have the utilities department, water and wastewater, engineering, public works, which has streets, urban forestry, parks and trails, and sports recreation as our departments that will be under his direct responsibility. So he's in the back tonight, and Denny, congratulations on your new appointment. Water main work may cause some brief discoloration. We've sent out in every medium we could think of to make people aware of what's going on with the water system. We have 2 main transmission lines that feed our system. One's a 24-inch main and one's a 30-inch main, and that 24 had a leak. We needed to be able to shut that down long enough to move all the water basically over to the 30-inch. The repair is going well. We should finish that up tomorrow and then get that 24 back online. So why is there discolored water in certain areas? As we do that and we move all the water that feeds our system over to one pipe, one 30-inch pipe, it picks up velocity. We have to push more water through that 30-inch to accommodate for not having the 24. And when velocity in the pipe picks up, it starts breaking loose some of the minerals, the natural minerals in the water. So that's what that discoloration could be or is, but it is safe to drink. We don't recommend, if you have any discolored water, turn the cold water on and let that run. Don't run your hot water because that'll take it through your hot water tank. But we haven't had a lot of calls today of anyone having discolored water, so we feel like they were able to make that transition pretty well. May see a little bit tomorrow as we bring the 24 back online, but want to make people aware of that. And again, we've sent that information out in the newspaper, courtesy calls through Code Red, as well as text and emails. So that's moving along well. Sales tax. We've got our May sales tax returns, and Doretha sent this email out to us, which we were very pleased to see that our May sales tax is up over 14% year to year, and so far year to date we're up about 17.28%. So sales taxes are doing well currently. I did see some of the A&P's numbers that came in for June. If our numbers in June are any if that's any indication what our June numbers are going to be, we'll have a very strong month in June as well. I'd like to thank many of our employees. You know, we're no different than any other business in the city or anywhere else that are impacted by the recent surge again in COVID-19. We've had many departments impacted by that throughout the city. And as a result, we have a lot of employees that are having to step up and do maybe not just their job, but a portion of someone else's. And whether that's intercity transit, solid waste, public works, police, utilities, and a myriad of others, almost every department we have has been impacted. So I just want to thank the employees for keeping their head down and getting us through those times. Because I can tell you, in 3 or 4 of those departments, it's been very challenging. So I appreciate what the employees are doing to make us to help us get through this point. I want to thank the youth volunteers during a mission ministry camp. Around 40 youth who were split up into teams to divide and conquer 10 various community projects. The Lake Valley Students Ministry Mission Ministry Camp. They painted picnic tables, pickleball backboards, restroom facilities at Wade Street Park. This group included 12 to 19-year-old students from across Garland County. And not only did they do projects here at the city, but in various other locations around the city for other organizations. So really proud of those students, 12 to 19-year-olds, and thank them for their volunteerism. And then, Mayor, I want to talk a moment. I read a letter to the editor in Sunday's paper that really disparaged some of our board members and some of our city staff in regards to the condition of some of our streets. And so I wanted to at least help make people understand what we are doing in streets and some of the challenges that we face. This particular letter to the editor, it emphasized things such as Central Avenue and portions of 3rd Street, portions of Hobson. But it's important to note that many of these are state highways. And under state highways, we couldn't fix a pothole if we wanted to. Those are state responsibilities, and they do not let us operate within their right-of-way. We do have good relationships with them. We pass that on to them. But I can tell you, they don't have the maintenance budget they need to maintenance all of their state highways. But as we get those and we receive those complaints, we do pass those along to the highway department. I do want to talk about what we are doing, though. 2021, our street paving includes 8 miles of paving over portions of 40 different streets. The streets were selected by blending the city street pavement rating spreadsheet with the condition index from First Step Street Inventory Study. That was a study that we brought in. Every street was driven. Every pothole was marked on city streets. And they actually were able to generate repair orders for all of those. So that was part of the conditions that we looked at as far as the rating sheets on how we came up to those 40 streets. But as you will see in a 5-year comparison, or what I had passed out to you at the retreat we had, the work session, we'll expend twice as much funds in 2021 as we did in 2020. In 2020, we had about $875,000, right at $873,000 for street paving. And at the direction of the board, We budgeted $1.5 million, a little over $1.5 million for 2021. Not all of that work's been done. Our contractor has been in. We've milled. We've done some of the streets, but about half of the streets that we have on the paving list still have yet to be conquered. In addition to that, we really focused on sidewalks this year. We're going to do about $600,000 worth of sidewalk work. And a lot of that's through grants and partnerships that we've had with primarily the Hot Springs School District and our Safe Routes to Schools. We're doing we have done $300,000 worth of sidewalks around the Main Street and Patterson School area, about 8 blocks of new sidewalks where the kids have to walk. $100,000 of general fund sidewalks in the Prospect area, in the Oaklawn School area. And again, these are sidewalks that needed to be repaired or where we had to fill in the gaps. You'll see areas where we have sidewalk, no sidewalk, sidewalk. So we try to fill in those gaps as well. And then we had about $200,000 through CDBG funds, and we're using those on Jefferson, Garden, Malvern, Bell, and Park. So we've made an emphasis to take care of the walkability, the streets themselves, and that kind of hard infrastructure is what I would call that. Now, what most people will find interesting, and this, I think the last time I mentioned this number, it generated several letters to the editor on how could this be. Hot Springs has about 299 miles of streets. This year, our cost to pave a mile of street is $187,000 per mile. Those costs, we bid those out. We choose the lowest price that's out there, and right now we anticipate that being $187,466 per mile. So out of that $1.5 million, we're going to be able to do about 8 miles. And that is driven primarily by the cost of petroleum in the asphalt that we're using. And we even sell back what we mill to be able to even keep those costs down. So it's important to understand what goes into these decisions, and I appreciate the board in doubling that. But as you can tell, over 5 years, we've done about 35 miles, and we've got 299 miles of street. One of the things that we're looking at is a way to get caught up to where we're not having to rebuild streets, that we can repair streets. A lot of times, if you're driving down a street, I pay attention to this. It happens to me. I'm driving down Ridgeway, and the Ridgeway seems to be really, really fine. It's a good traveling street until I get to the last 100 feet or the last 100 yards. And then it's that washboard from trucks or whatever it may be stopping in the summer, and it kind of rolls that pavement. So we're working hard to get to where we're taking advantage of just those ends of the streets, because that could be the lasting impression that you have of the entire street. When I drive down a street, I'm not thinking in my mind, wow, this is a good street. But when I hit that rumble board, I think, man, this street's terrible. So I'm cognizant of that, but we are doing everything we can. I am working with the county judge on potential issues that we can work together that may be able to bring additional monies into our paving. But I am cognizant of the fact that we need more money. But when I read those things in the paper, it just, I really want to try to educate people, because the streets that are named, and I'm going to name a few and then move on, but when you think about Central, Malvern, Grand, Albert Pike, Airport Road, Higdon Ferry, 3rd Street, Hobson, Summer, the list goes on. Those are all main thoroughfares that we drive each and every day. Each and every one of those are outside our purview. Those are state highways. So I appreciate that, Mayor. I wanted to kind of talk about that, because that letter it didn't upset me, but it did let me know we need to do a better job at educating. And the last thing I got, leave on a positive note, is congratulations to Director Trusty. He's been appointed by the Arkansas Municipal League to serve on the Advisory Council of Economic Development for 2021-2022. So congratulations on that appointment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mayor, that ends my report.
Very good. Well, thank you. This time we'll have from individual directors, announcements of upcoming events. Director Garcia.
I would like to remind everybody about the where you can get COVID vaccinations. There are pop-up clinics that happen from time to time, and the city's website has a direct link to the COVID locations and these clinics. Our IT group does an excellent job of keeping this information updated, and there was one today out at Healthy Connections on Central Avenue, but they are available daily in all areas of our town, on Malvern, on 7 North, on Central, on Airport Road, and nearby both hospitals, the walk-in clinics, and the health department. And the health department has the J&J one-shots if some people are more interested in that one. But I am very proud of the job that the city website is doing in pushing that information out. And they have a contact COVID number, but please use the website if you're not sure where you can go get a COVID shot or vaccine. They have the complete list and phone numbers with directions to the locations. And just one moment to tag on to the city manager's report. In 2011, when I joined the board, the previous board had already set the budget, but our budget for streets was $100,000, which now that was for 1 mile. Now it's nearly doubled, and you couldn't pave 1 mile with that budget. So it's come a long ways in what we've been able to have excess general fund reserves and still increase our budget for streets more and more each year. And we're all thankful for that. And I wanted to mention the striping, because they do the striping on our city streets, and where we have not good street lighting in areas, that is very important, especially at night. That striping for drivers my age and older especially is very much appreciated. In District 5, there's been some striping this year that has by the city, and the city helped get some by the state on their part too. That's very much appreciated, and have heard from constituents regarding that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other directors' announcements of upcoming events?
Mayor, mine is passed. May I tell you about it?
That's fine. Go
Okay.
ahead.
The city manager mentioned the students that did all the work. Well, they were at Webb Center for 2 days. When I tell you they were working, they told me to go sit down somewhere. I was in the way. So I was just looking to see what all they had done and what they were gonna do. And then one kid come up to me and he said, "Ma'am, would you find you somewhere to sit?" I said, "No, I'm going home." But they worked, they cleaned, that place needed a good cleaning.
Nice.
And we could have used them a whole week.
Very
But
nice.
I appreciate them more than they know.
Well, thank you.
Mayor.
Any other director? We'll move on then. This time we'll consider the consent agenda. These are items of a routine nature that do not merit individual discussion. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Director Weatherford, seconded by
Second.
Director Holliday. All in favor of the consent agenda as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is approved. This time we'll hold a public hearing on the issue of vacating an undeveloped portion of Brighton Place located in Mountain Oaks subdivision in Garland County, Arkansas. Again, this is a public hearing on the issue of vacating an undeveloped portion of Brighton Place located in Mountain Oak subdivision, Garland County. The public hearing is now open. Do we have anybody who'd like to speak on this matter? Seeing that no one has come forward to speak on this matter, I declare the public hearing closed. Now we'll begin our new business items, of which there are 4. At first, we'll consider Resolution R21-110 and ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-21-110, a resolution amending Resolution 4639 by declaring Juneteenth Day an official holiday and revising the established official city holidays for the city of Hot Springs. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion if any.
Motion to adopt.
I move that.
Director Jones, seconded by Director Weatherford, and our staff report will be provided by City Manager, Mr. Bill Burrow.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. On June 17th, 2021, Juneteenth became a federal holiday that celebrates the end of slavery in the United States of America. On January 1st, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, establishing that all enslaved people in Confederate states in rebellion against the Union shall thenceforward and forever free. However, all slaves were not instantly free. The Emancipation Proclamation only applied to places under Confederate control and not to slaveholding border states and rebel areas already under the Union control. Juneteenth, short for June 19th, marks the day when federal troops arrived in Galveston, Texas in 1865 to take control of the state and ensure that all enslaved people be freed. Juneteenth honors the actual end to slavery in the United States. If approved, the City of Hot Springs would add Juneteenth to the established official city holidays to be observed beginning June 19th, 2022. And Mayor, I just want to say I've been here a long time, and I don't recall us adding holidays to our menu of holidays that we recognize, and it's truly an honor for me to be able to recommend to this board that you approve this resolution and add Juneteenth to the city's menu of holidays. Thank you.
Any questions of Mr. Burrow? Do we have anybody sign up to speak on this matter?
Mr. Beard.
Mr. Elmer Beard, please come forward and restate your name, address, and district, please.
I'm Elmer Beard of 202 Henry Street, Hot Spring National Park, Arkansas. I believe that's District 2. Retired elected official and life member retired of the National Association of Advancement of Colored People. I learned everything the last couple hours this on the agenda because the officers in the NACP haven't taught me how to use that computer that I got yet. So they have to keep me informed, and in doing so, I have this to think about. If you wouldn't mind, would you time me so that I won't start praying and go too long?
We got you going. There you go.
It's on.
Okay, I'll try to stay within that. First, I want to thank the city manager and those involved in the Summer Soul 21 Juneteenth. Got a chance to see it Sunday. That's how far I'm behind on my agenda. Thank you very, very much. I understand that we were the third showing it. It was shown here for the third time since it's been buried 50 years. Thank you so much. But what you're doing here tonight is history. It's appreciated. I do not take it lightly. The National Association of Advancement of Colored People and all of those who love freedom do not take it lightly. One thing it says that I like to mention within the seconds that I've got left is that if I were not black, I probably would not want to have critical race theory presented to me in any form either. Realize, in fact, that for 246 years, America became the richest country on the face of the earth with wayward labor. Thank you for what you have done here tonight. Thank you for the free labor that we're able to give to make this country the greatest country on the earth, and by recognizing that fact on June 19th or the 19th of June, beginning in 2021. thank you. I've tried to say this as brief as I could with the amount of time that I have left, even without one of the endless prayers that I have. These are the kinds of things that we have talked about for so very, very long that for some reason they just make us uncomfortable. And the truth will do that to me, so I can understand it doing that to others. Waived labor for all of the businesses, farming and development for a period of 246 years. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deere.
Do we have anybody else want to speak on this issue?
No, he said what I was gonna say.
Ms. Franklin's here, but she didn't sign in. Ms. Franklin.
Any discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye, resolution is adopted.
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
Our next item is ordinance 021-33. And in order to move forward, we need to have a motion to suspend the rules to read by title only.
So moved.
Director Trustee, seconded by
Second.
Director Weatherford. We have a motion and a second to suspend the rules to read by title only. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose same sign. Approved. Please read by title.
Ordinance O-21-33, an ordinance vacating an undeveloped portion of Brighton Place located in Mountain Oak subdivision in Garland County, Arkansas, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion. Second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director
Second.
Trustee, seconded by Director Weatherford. Staff report will be provided by City Clerk Harmony Morrissey.
Thank you. Petitioners Gretchen and Damon Keith own property along both sides of an undeveloped portion of Brighton Place and seek to vacate this portion of the right-of-way to build a single-family home on this property. City staff as well as utility providers have reviewed and support the proposed action. All statutory requirements have been met with the public hearing being conducted earlier this evening. Because the applicant is the sole owner of property on both sides of the undeveloped portion of Brighton Place, if vacated, they would receive the entire portion of the right-of-way highlighted on your map. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions, Ms. Morrissey? Hearing none. Did we have anybody sign up to want to speak on this? Any discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. Next item to come before the board is ordinance number 021-34. And I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules to read by title only.
So moved. Second.
Who made the motion? I know I heard Director Weatherford and Director
Second.
Holliday made the second, and our staff report will be provided by Kathy Selman, Planning and Development Director. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. We're here to consider a correction to an error that exists in the Hot Springs zoning code. 16-221 is our definition section. We find that we have a definition for single family, which is one family.
We haven't read this ordinance yet.
We had a motion
we
and
haven't?
a second to suspend
Thank
the
you.
rules, and we
We
haven't
moved quickly.
suspended the rules yet.
We had a motion to suspend the rules to read by title only.
Now I will do
In a
so.
second.
And we had
We
a
haven't had a
motion
vote
by
yet.
Director Weatherford, seconded. That
Right.
was approved. Please read by title.
You got to vote you got a motion and a second. You got to vote on the motion.
All in favor of the motion to suspend the rules, read by title only, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is approved.
Thank you,
Please
Mayor.
read by title.
This is O-21-34, an ordinance amending ordinance number 5158 relating to the definition of dwelling, multifamily, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Motion
moved.
to adopt.
Second.
Director Garcia, seconded by Director Trustee.
Thank
Now, Kathy Selman, Director of Planning and Development, will provide a staff report.
Thank you. And we are here to correct an error in the Hot Springs Code in our definitions. Some things are just so obvious that you never go back and try to define them. We have a definition for single family, which is a home with one family in it. Duplex, which is two homes attached. And then we have a definition for multifamily, which for no reason that we can figure out is a home for 8 or more families. So at this time, we do not have provision in the Hot Springs zoning code for multiple family dwellings that would house between 3 and 7 families. So we would like to correct that. There's no documentation for this weird little gap in our definitions. So we brought this to Planning Commission at their meeting on July 8th. And after considering the record and testimony, where one person did speak in support, Planning Commission voted unanimously to accept the staff report findings and recommendation that the board adopt an ordinance correcting the definition of dwelling multifamily to read 3 or more families rather than 8 or more. That's it.
Any questions of Ms. Selman? Director Garcia?
What are examples? Are you talking, is this referring to apartments?
Yes.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
It is.
Very good. Any further questions? Thank you. Anybody from our audience sign
Thank
up
you.
for this item? Any discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. Our final action item of the evening is to consider ordinance O-2135. Now entertain a motion to suspend the rules to read by title only.
So moved, Mayor.
Director Jones, seconded by
Second.
Director Trustee. All in favor of the motion and second to read by title only, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's been approved. You can go ahead and read it.
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance number O-21-35, an ordinance amending ordinance number 6324 regarding attendance of board members by electronic means and for other purposes. That concludes your reading by title. If you would entertain a motion second to adopt, and we'll have discussion.
So
Motion
moved.
to adopt. Director Jones, seconded by
Second.
Director Garcia, was it? And our staff report will be provided by Mr. Brian Albright, City Attorney.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Just some background on this. Ordinance 6324 was adopted last March 21st of 2020 as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic for the purpose of ensuring that a quorum of board members would be present for business meetings in order to conduct business. Prior to the adoption of 6324 back in 2020, essentially a board member or the mayor had to be in his or her seat in order to vote. The amendment that was taken by the board of 6324 last year added being able to attend, participate, and vote via electronic means if that was for the purpose of providing requisite membership attendance for matters coming before the board. In other words, things like a quorum, which is a fluid number, or the passage of ordinances, as we just experienced having to suspend the rules. That takes 5. So there is a proposed amendment tonight on your agenda that was prepared and approved for the agenda last Tuesday that allows the board or the mayor to appear by electronic means for any reason, essentially, and that by appearing by that purpose, you could participate in the discussion, the voting, any debate, as though you were physically present. And the term electronic means shall be limited to the city's telecommunications platform established for such purpose. Well, this was, as I said, read or shared with you last Tuesday at your agenda meeting. On Thursday, the governor it proposed his executive order. This was Executive Order 2135. He has now declared that there is a public health emergency as a result of the statewide impact of the Delta variant of COVID-19. And so I believe because of that executive order that was issued and the potential impact that the Legislative Act of 1002 of this year, 1002 of 2021, that prohibits us from requiring anyone from wearing a mask, I believe that Director Garcia has a proposed amendment to what is on the floor this evening.
Yes. May I be recognized?
Director Garcia?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, thank you, City Attorney, for giving us that background. And as he said, the governor did issue a proclamation related to emergency in our public health across the state. Yesterday, we saw the biggest single-day jump in hospitalizations due to COVID at any point during the pandemic due to COVID-19. And then today, we had another 2,343 new cases of COVID. So in light of the governor's executive order and this potential impact of the legislative acts of 21, I would like to make the following motion to amend our proposed ordinance 02135 by adding the phrase in section II, during any public health emergency as declared by executive order of the governor. And if that is inserted where that the mayor or a board member is appearing by electronic means, and during any public health emergency as declared by executive order of the governor, then I believe that that would meet what the intent was. I am the director that asked for this change as we saw the increase in COVID cases. I've lost friends to COVID, and I've seen what it's done to them and to their families. This year, I was not attending meetings, but participating by Zoom, not because I wanted to hang out at the lake or go on a vacation, but as my husband was ill and passed away in April, I could not take any chances of spreading any type of viruses. I currently take care of a 90-year-old mother that's precious to me, and I do not feel like this is out of line to make a request to protect our public health and set examples of how we can achieve our goals and objectives and meetings through the technology that's now available to us. No time during my lifetime, regardless of what you might think, I wasn't here in 1919 during the last pandemic, but I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. And I am for protecting everyone's health. And it's not for any other reason. And I want the public and the mayor and the board of directors to understand that.
Very good. Any other comments?
I'd ask for a second to my motion.
I'll second it, Mayor.
So how would that read now,
So,
Ryan?
yes, thank you, Director. So with the motion and the second, we're now open for discussion on the amendment itself. If you'll look at page 53 of your packet.
Yes, sir.
First line, double letter I, that the mayor or a board member is appearing by electronic means, and then inserting the phrase during any public health emergency as declared by executive order of the governor, period. The remaining portion of that paragraph would be the same.
So absent a public health emergency, a physical attendance would be required.
That is correct.
To participate in discussion and vote.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is very different than what Director Garcia originally proposed, and this is something I certainly can support.
Right.
No, sir, I did not propose that. I just asked for how we could have it. I didn't write I'm telling
well,
you, the
you'd
reason I
indicated that you had
requested it, I did
earlier.
not write it. And I didn't have conversations with the city attorney before that was presented.
Well, be that as
So
it may.
it was not.
Be that as
what-
it may, I think that when you have a public health declaration, emergency declaration, you know, the manner in which we can conduct business should be varied, but not in regular course of business where there is no public health emergency. So certainly can support that. Any other comments or questions?
So who would be required to be in these chambers during?
No one.
No one. Not the city manager, not the city attorney, no one.
Nobody.
Well, I guess maybe the city manager and city attorney, according to the way this is written. Says the mayor and board member.
The mayor or board members would not have to be here, but
Right.
currently,
You
you
would
two,
You would have to have someone here in order to facilitate this electronic
exactly.
meeting. So it would, you know, if at all possible, it would be the city manager, the city clerk, the city attorney, and someone with some technical ability beyond me.
But as technology increases what is available to do, that could even be done in the future remotely.
Well, I mean, I can conduct a Zoom meeting from my office, but the issue is, if you're going to have a meeting, is it available to the public?
That's correct.
And do they have an opportunity to participate? And so, you know, what we did last year was to try to ensure that we had a physical location where the public could come, not required to come, but could come and view it, see it live, participate if they wished. And in order to make that happen, we had the requirement that the mayor or assistant mayor be present, that the city manager or deputy city manager, city clerk or deputy city clerk, city attorney or deputy city attorney be present in order for that to take place.
One more question. So were those meetings open to the public at all time?
Yes, sir.
They could come and meet in the lobby, even during the height of the pandemic?
They could come in the room.
They could come in here and.
That's what I mean, they could come in
we
here,
had-
they could speak?
Yes,
We
sir.
had spatial seating here that allowed for distancing, but would not allow for max attendance.
Right.
And so, for example, because we did have remote attendance, a few of us left the dais and went to the floor so that we had social
6 foot
distancing
spacing.
here.
Okay. That was still in effect when I came onto the board in January, right?
But we did have some people join in, non-board members via Zoom.
Right.
The guidance or the ordinance that we had approved back in March, I guess it was, in 2020.
Yes, sir.
Did a really pretty good job, but it didn't go quite far enough in that it did not allow people to remain home or remain remote and participate other than having the one person make the quorum. And then the balance were really kind of left in a role of not being able to participate, even though we might have erred a little bit in that regard. This would allow full participation from all directors, regardless of whether they're here on-site or remote.
Yes, sir. I feel like if the board had adopted in March of 2020, the ordinance as amended this evening on the floor for your consideration, we would have functioned essentially in the same manner that we
Yep.
did. You know, I got a feeling he's going to be here if at all possible.
I would be too, yes.
I will
Yeah, he
as well.
will.
So we'll
He will too over there.
be able to do this.
So what is the contingency plan if you're not here? We have 2 deputy city managers. Is it the clerk? Is your second?
Well, theoretically, he could participate remotely. It
But-
doesn't say that he can't. But, you know, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, prior to any of this pandemic situation, we had discussed this once before. You set the rules on how you participate. As far as open meetings laws are concerned, you could already do what we've been doing. But your rules, the board's rules, said you had to be physically present. And so that's what we're grappling with is how do you want to conduct the city business? So one of the issues that seems to be, you know, paramount is allowing the public a forum, a physical forum to be able to gather and listen, view, participate if they choose. And so we will provide that.
And each one of us do have a deputy position.
That's why I was asking, who's your deputy?
Terry Askew is the deputy city attorney. But again, if it's a situation of being able to, you know, read an ordinance, answer questions, give advice, present barfs, that sort of thing, I mean, I see no reason why that couldn't be done remotely either, but you still have to have some physical
Body.
I really can't think of a time where one of us or multiples of us aren't going to be here.
Yeah.
I've never missed a meeting. So, I mean, I'm not saying I can't get COVID, okay? I'm not, we're all susceptible, but, we're gonna be here.
Any further questions, comments?
I have a question. It's a little bit outside of this, but it kind of dovetails to your conversation. Do we know if there's any, are there plans or are we looking into opportunities for people to testify remotely? I know there's some concern with having the meetings be open because meetings have been hacked. And, you know, we've heard about that in other communities, but in doing this, you know, that's the other thing is we do have people who would like to testify who are not able to.
My recommendation is we continue to have open meetings here, and
That's
we'll be
right.
here, and those that feel strongly about an item can
Come up here.
come.
We've also had
They come to the
City Clerk read emails that have been received on subjects, and she's made sure that those are read at the appropriate time.
Mayor, I will point out that provision has expired. That expired last June the 30th. You only have that temporarily.
Oh, thank you.
Perhaps that's next time.
Yeah, we'll bring that up.
Because I
again.
do, you know, if we're protecting ourselves and others, I do want to make sure that the conversation continues so that people can participate safely as well, that they don't have to choose between an important issue to them and their safety. Like I said, it's a bit outside of this, but.
Director
Mayor.
Trustee?
Last question, Mr. City Attorney. The absence of the language about city manager, acting city manager, city clerk, city attorney, or deputy city attorney, absent that language, is it implied that you don't have to be here either?
We
Or is it
don't-
implied that you are here?
We don't vote.
I know, you don't vote, but you're an integral part of this
Yeah.
meeting.
But this is only the board
We could
But-
board members.
We could participate remotely, yes.
But as I understand ordinance 6324, it addressed those positions that I just mentioned, and this one does not. And we're amending the section that provides.
That is correct.
That listed those positions.
That is correct.
So I just want everybody to be clear, no one but, other than, I guess someone called the meeting to order and broadcast it over the air, would have to be in this room.
That is correct.
Okay. Is that what we want? I guess I'm asking the other board members if that's what we want, or,
No, I understand why you're asking for this, but, you know, think it's an injustice to the public who wants to come up here and speak. They're speaking to someone on a screen up there. And we could shut the screen off or shut our sound off. We never even hear them if we don't want to. If we're sitting here, we're hearing what these folks are saying. We were elected. I think we should be here. That's just how I feel. So.
Any
Well,
other thoughts? Or comments?
We're not taking that away from the public. This is for the board
Well, the
members.
public comes up here to speak to us. It doesn't come up here to speak to a TV screen, and we're on that TV screen, and we're remote, and we can shut that off. We don't even have to listen to them.
I don't
if
have
we're
any,
at home.
I haven't had any problems with any constituent speaking to me or addressing me or even commenting on my participations in the meetings during the time that I wasn't here physically. So I have the relationship with my constituents that it's not been an issue.
Can I just say for the record, I never turned my sound off when I was on screen?
Pardon?
That's just not, that, I mean, I guess I kind of understand where you're coming from, but at no point did it ever occur to me to turn my sound off and disengage with a meeting because I was remote.
I think that way.
That's, so I just want to make sure that at least for my point, that that's not implied.
In fact, I've sent messages when there were problems with the,
Yeah,
to
well, couldn't hear.
Lance and to the city manager as well.
Again, this is only during the time of a stated governor proclaimed health emergency.
Public emergency, public health emergency.
Public health emergency.
Any further comments or questions?
It's over with it. Over.
Good. Ready to call the roll?
Okay.
Did we get a second to
I
her amendment?
second it.
Yeah,
This
You
is
did?
on.
Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
And so the roll,
she made the motion.
And
Great.
I second
Director
it.
Holliday made the second.
Okay.
You know, even
the
though
roll here is
I
just
did
on the
it, it's
amendment.
all right.
Okay, the vote is on the amendment solely. And then,
Mhm.
depending on what action, we'll follow up with the final vote.
Against it is done.
Please call the roll.
Director Weatherford.
No.
Garcia.
Yes.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye, amendment passes. Now we'll entertain a motion to approve
Well,
the,
you don't need a motion to do that. It's already been amended, but if there's further discussion as amended.
further discussion as amended. Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance as amended is approved. Thank you. That completes the action items for this evening. Now we're on to board commentary. Are there any comments or items for discussion that the board would like to bring up? Director Garcia?
I would just like to say that the president of the AML appointed me to the Public Safety Committee.
Very
I would
nice.
have announced that had I known that.
That's great.
Very good.
And for those who didn't know, Bill's uncle died today. His
I'm very
only
sorry.
uncle, isn't it?
Fred Burrow,
Yeah.
good man.
Yeah.
Any further items to discuss?
No, I just would like to thank Bill, because I know you didn't have to do what you did. It's a song say that too, but you did. That's how it goes. And I appreciate it,
Yes, ma'am.
because I had no idea you were even thinking. I was thinking we need to get a date, but I didn't mention it. Because, you know, way back in the day, I got Martin Luther King Day, and I had to fight for that one. Nobody wanted it. I mean, the employees were okay with it, but the management was, I forgot who the city manager was. I think it was Myers back in the day. Anyway, I thank you. Mayor, is there anything else, or do we need to go home?
That's normally a question I
Yes,
would
it
ask of you.
You were bothered
Director
before.
Garcia.
I just wanted to put something out there for us to consider. I would like to recommend for us to look at before the end of the year, making a designated move to restricted fund from our general fund reserve for upcoming unfunded items, as we know we have some things coming up. And as we heard tonight, how our increase, since I joined the board, it's increased over $10 million. And by the end of this year, it appears we're on track. We ended last year over 12 million. This year, we'll probably end at least 14 million, and we'll have a big excess reserve in our general fund that we know. I'd like us to look at doing something on the restricted funds for some of the upcoming expenses, such as the school, the old hospital at the school demolition.
Oh, I thought you were
Just
talking about my pay raise.
For the general public, we did have a board retreat on Saturday where we addressed a number of items of what our priorities are for the next calendar year, which is the city manager and his staff are trying to begin the formulation of a city budget. And so we spent 6 hours in meetings, and items such as what Director Garcia just mentioned, came up because we have to fund some of these unfunded capital projects, and we have a number of them. And so it is Bill's charge to kind of map that out, and given the strength of our sales tax and our general economy. Of course, we all recognize that can stop on the dime with this COVID variant, but we're going to plan for the future with the best information that we have. So, Director Jones, did you have any final comment?
Yes, sir. I move that we adjourn for the night. It is 7:23. Thank you, Mayor.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
7:23:30. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.
The minutes will sort of.